I have tightened up all of the nuts and bolts and the rose nut on the Norton Commando exhaust, and now I'm going to put a wire wrap on the exhaust rose nuts. I have special washers that I put with a hole drilled in it to take the wire wrap wire. And this will hopefully keep the exhausts tight. We find a hole, there's one there. The rose nuts have been drilled, not by me, by somebody doing this exact same. There we go. Okay. Go that way. So go that way round. Let's pull one tight. Start again. Feed the wire in. The idea is to get the wire wrapping in such a way that it pulls the end or the middle bit tight. So pull it too much, of course, you break the wire. Start again. Haven't got the wire tight. I'm now going to chop off the ends. You have to keep an eye on these ends because they are very sharp and can dig their way into tires, knees, all sorts of things. Get rid of those, and what I like to do is to turn the end over so that the sharp bit is actually inside a loop and protects your hands. There we go. I'm now going to do the other side and then clean up the exhaust a bit. I've been working through getting the Commando ready to go out on the road. So one of the first things I needed to do was bolt down the tank, but that is a little bit more complicated than I expected, and turns out you need 24 rubber discs either side of the bolt down points. So I found those and the studs and the nuts and all the washers, all the rest of it. So I'm sort of ready to do that, and I'll show you the underneath in a moment. And then I wanted to fit the seat, and it goes on to the two large round knurled knobs that go onto the top of the suspension, and it really didn't fit very well. Now the seat I've got is, it came from Vietnam, and it's a extra low height one because my legs are not particularly that long. The seat is quite wide, and I stupidly had 19-inch rear rim rather than 18-inch, and at some point I might go and get that changed. Depends how well I get on with the Norton, I suppose. So the seat had a couple of issues. I had an aftermarket grab rail. I like grab rails because you can hang on to the back and move the bike around and things. But that was actually holding the back of the seat up, so it wouldn't go down fully into the slots. And then I found that the clamps, not clamps, yeah, clamps I suppose, on the bottom of the seat were actually fouling the top of the suspension. So I've actually had to take an angle grinder to them, and they're actually drying at this point in time. So the petrol tank has two rubber cushions, two studs at the front, and then two studs at the back, which are 5/16, and then obviously the nuts to do them up. And each side of the stud, which is one reason why they're so long, has three rubber washers. So on the back there's 12, and on the front there's 12 in total. I think they kept adding a rubber washer every time the tank split. So we'll actually finish doing that and bolt that down. So the seat supports, straps, clamps, whatever, I've actually had to angle grind off the back edge to make them fit a little better, and they're just, I've painted them, so I'm just waiting for the paint to dry so I can start fitting again. In the meantime I'm going to get on with checking all the nuts and bolts. I have been going over the bike, checking all the nuts and the bolts and everything to make sure that they're all tight and safe, and Allen screws, Allen bolts, all the rest of it. And I'm reasonably happy now that I can finally put the tank on and put the seat on, and then try the starting procedure that I've read up or watched on YouTube and such like, to see if I can start it reliably. That's actually sitting astride it rather than standing to one side, which I've always used to do. So I have fitted the tank. What a palaver that is. There's a strap that goes underneath across, and one end's open and the other end is just a drilled hole. And I found that if you put the nut on the washer on this side, then go to the other side and slide the plate, the strap across, put the other end on and do the nut up a little bit, and then this end, the fork has actually gone in either side of the nut. But even with a ratchet spanner to get in there where the air cleaner and the oil tank is, you get one click on the ratchet spanner, so it takes a while. And then obviously the two studs at the front as well. So it's taken me most of the afternoon to get the tank on there and reasonably stable, but that's okay. While working on the Norton, checking all the nuts and bolts and things, I think I bought at least a quarter of the toolbox out here. It would be easier perhaps to have bought the whole toolbox out, save me walking back and forth. Okay, so I've got it all back together. I think I've got enough energy left to have a go at starting it. I'm going to try the stride method. So I've turned the petrol on and tickled the carbs, and I'm just going to go for it. Well, that didn't work very well. I think I'm going to have to strap my knees up again and perhaps wait until tomorrow, the next day, before I actually have another attempt at starting it. My legs, etc., are rather bad today. Right, let's have another go at getting it started. If it starts, good. Fuel on. Fuel on. Carb tickled. Carb tickled. Ignition on. Ignition off. Ignition on. Into the throttle. Needs adjusting. Back brake needs adjusting, and I need to turn it around. This is my first proper ride on the Norton Commando. In fact, thinking about it, it's the first ride that I've ever had on any Commando. Or any Norton, in fact. I've never had a Norton before. I've had BSAs and Triumphs and Yamahas, Hondas, all sorts of things. First Norton. I did find the clutches very light, especially compared to the Trident. And it handled well, went well most of the time. So what have I learnt? Well, first, I obviously can't set up a belt drive. I'm going to be contacting RGM Norton, who I got the kit from, and order another belt, perhaps two. I like to have a spare, depends how much they cost, of course. So that's one of the first things, is to try to figure out what I did wrong there and sort that out, because obviously without a belt you can't even start the engine, let alone anything else. The clunk that I had in the gearbox, I don't seem to have anymore, well, not so far anyway, and that I think comes down to the fact of using proper nuts and studs as per the parts list, and using the torque setting and the torque sequence as detailed in Andover Norton's excellent technical series. So I'm hoping that that's sorted and that won't be a problem again. I've also learnt that at 72 years old, I probably am going to need some form of electric start, and sort of researching what's available. I think at the moment the biggest option, or the best option, would be an Alton system, but I would need a negative earth system, or I could of course change the bike all around to a positive earth system, but that would mean changing the ignition system, the charging system, all the lights, because they're all LED, quite a starter motor. No, not starter motor, that would be Alton. I'm thinking of the Trident at the moment, sorry. So that's quite a big undertaking. I am slowly, or have been slowly, getting to grips with the fact that the gear change is 1 up and 3 down, whereas Triumphs, all the ones I've got anyway, and the Honda SRX, just about everything else that I can think of is 1 down and 3 or 4 up. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. The other thing is, there's a little technique. I've been struggling to put the side stand out, and which is a little frustrating, because I really need to put the side stand out to get off the bike to be able to put it on the main stand. And with the way that the side stand is designed, it's a bit difficult to kick it out. You can't see me kicking my leg, to actually get it all the way out. But I have found that if you get it out far enough and then you give it a kick, the momentum takes it forward, and then you can rest it on the stand. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to, because again, Triumphs and things are quite a lot shorter and they're easier just to sort of swivel it around, because I think they're mounted further back. The things left to do, well, one of the first things is to sort out the ignition switch. It's a 4-position switch as per standard, so you've got side lights and off, both which the key will come out, and then ignition only and ignition and lights. And the ignition only position seems to be very intermittent, and that may have been some of the issues I had with starting the bike. So I've been thinking about that, and I might do something a little more radical. We shall see there. During the ride, the things that happened besides the belt shredding, I hadn't adjusted the rear brake, and I need to sort that out. I need to actually adjust the aim on the onboard camera so that it's looking a little bit further ahead rather than looking down at the road too much. I haven't used the carb tune yet to actually see if I can balance the carbs. I didn't quite get around to that, so I'm quite looking forward to that, although it's probably more relevant on the Trident. One of my kind subscribers pointed out that I should put the side stand bolt in from the top rather than pushing up from the bottom, and I'll have a go at that because I'm obviously going to have to take the primary drive apart, so that will give me access to that, easier access to that bolt. One of the other issues, of course, is that because I'm relatively short, I'd actually got a lowered seat. The seat is 2 inches lower, which means that my feet will actually touch the ground. At some point in the future, I'd like to change the rear wheel from a 19-inch, which was standard, to an 18-inch, which gives you better access to different tyres. But of course, having a lowered seat means that the distance between the footrests and the seat are reduced. And I find with my old legs that actually getting my feet up onto the footrests is a little bit more complicated. So I've been thinking about lowering the footrests a little bit to restore that gap, that distance, and make it slightly easier to ride. It's not as if I'm going to be sort of doing track days or racing around the streets. I'm a little old for that now. The other thing that I found was that the banjo bolt where the oil goes into the engine from the oil tank had actually come a little bit loose. I'm pretty sure I checked that was tight during all my nut and bolt checks that I was doing. So I have a feeling that might be something that I need to keep an eye on. Might end up with a little bit of Loctite of some sort, so we'll see on that one. All in all though, I think I did really well with this Norton Commando so far, and once I've actually sorted the belt issue out and got that all tickety-boo again, I'm looking forward to going on some longer rides and actually going places and seeing people. I hope you enjoyed this video, and in fact the journey so far with this Norton Commando. Look forward to seeing more in the future. Thank you for watching.